Louisiana wears its history like a shroud, layers of tragedy, superstition, and secrets woven into the land. Beneath the drape of Spanish moss and the slow churn of the bayou waters, whispers of the past still stir. Here, the dead don't rest quietly. They walk the hallways of antebellum mansions, linger in the mist over forgotten swamps, and echo through the cobblestones of New Orleans. If you listen closely, you can almost hear them calling your name. Tonight, we journey deep into the haunted heart of Louisiana, and where shadows breathe and the living are never alone. 1 Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 New Orleans. Tucked in the Garden District, Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 is a city of the dead, where rows of above-ground tombs lean against each other like weary sentinels. Built in 1833, it has weathered epidemics, floods, and centuries of mourning. And yet the silence here never feels empty. It feels watchful. The cemetery is home to countless legends. Visitors tell of seeing spectral figures gliding between the tombs, their outlines faint, as if made of smoke. Some speak of a woman in black, weeping eternally at a child's grave, her cries carrying through the air even when the cemetery is deserted. Others describe cold gusts of wind that sweep down the narrow paths, chilling them to the bone on sweltering summer days. Perhaps the most disturbing tales involve the so-called gates to the other side. Paranormal investigators claim the cemetery acts as a spiritual crossroads, a place where barriers thin, electronic devices malfunction, voices whisper through static, and shadows dart across marble crypts. The longer you linger and the stronger the feeling grows that something is circling you, waiting for you to step too close to the edge. Lafayette Cemetery. 1 isn't just a burial ground, it's a place where the past has not let go. If you ever wander between its ancient tombs at dusk, remember this: you are not alone. The city of the dead is still very much alive. 2 The Degas House, New Orleans. On Esplanade Avenue stands a graceful Creole mansion, once home to the family of famed French Impressionist painter Edgar Degas. From the outside, the Degas House exudes elegant shuttered windows, wrought iron balconies, and lush gardens, but behind those walls, something lingers that brushes more than just canvas. When Degas stayed here in 1872, he was surrounded by relatives, and tragedy soon followed. Death seemed to shadow the family, and whispers say the grief imprinted itself into the house. Guests who stay overnight speak of uneasy dreams filled with faceless figures, or of waking to find a woman in a white gown standing silently by the bed. She vanishes when confronted, leaving only the scent of old perfume drifting in the room. Some visitors have claimed to hear the scratch of a paintbrush on canvas when the house is still, or the creak of footsteps pacing across the upper floors. The most unnerving stories involve mirrors, guests catching glimpses of pale faces behind them, eyes that don't blink, staring back long after the reflection should be gone. The Degas House is celebrated as a landmark of art and history, but those who have felt its chill know it's also a gallery of ghosts. You may walk through admiring the beauty of some, but if you look too closely, you might feel as though something is admiring you in return. 3 Beauregard-Keyes House, New Orleans. On Chartres Street stands a stately Creole townhouse with bright walls and tall windows. The Beauregard-Keyes House. Built in 1826, it has been home to generals, authors, and musicians, but it is most infamous for what lingers after dark. Behind its beauty lies a shadow of tragedy and inexplicable terror. The house was once the residence of Confederate General G. T. Beauregard, who is said to haunt its halls, replaying memories of the battles he fought and lost. Guests have described waking to the sound of cannons and gunfire echoing through the walls, the clash of soldiers screaming as if the war were still raging. Sometimes the scent of gunpowder fills the air, though no musket has been fired for more than a century. But Beauregard is not the only spirit here. Local lore tells of an even darker presence, a group of murdered men whose restless shadows wander the house. Witnesses have seen them appear suddenly, bloodied and broken, only to vanish into the floorboards. Doors lock themselves, cold drafts slither through sealed room and the piano in the parlor is said to play faintly, though no hands touch its keys. The Beauregard-Keyes House feels less like a museum and more like a trap for the past, a place where memory bleeds into the present. Step inside, and you may feel the war marching all around you, or worse. Hear a piano begin to play a song meant only for the dead. 4. The Andrew Jackson Hotel, New Orleans. The French Quarter never sleeps. But not all the life there is human. On Royal Street, tucked among iron balconies and lantern-lit alleys, there stands the Andrew Jackson Hotel, a place that looks charming by day but turns unsettling by night. Its history reaches back to the late 1700s, and when a boarding school once stood here until a fire claimed the lives of several young boys. The hotel was built upon those ashes, but the children never truly left. Guests have reported the sound of laughter and footsteps running down the halls, though no child is ever seen. Toys have been moved from one corner of a room to another, and some have awakened to the feeling of small hands tugging at their blankets. The cries of boys echo faintly through the courtyard, like voices carried from another century. But it isn't just the children who remain. Some visitors claim to have seen the ghost of Andrew Jackson himself, after whom the hotel is named, appearing in mirrors or wandering the hallways with an air of restless energy. Staff often avoid the upper floors late at night, claiming the atmosphere feels too thick, too charged, like invisible eyes are locked on them. Would you dare spend the night in one of the rooms when knowing you might wake to a child's laughter just inches from your ear? The Andrew Jackson Hotel is more than haunted. It's a reminder that not every soul finds peace, even after the fire dies down. Manchac Swamp, Ponchatula. The swamp breathes differently at night. Mist curls over black waters. Cypress trees loom like skeletal guardians, and the air hangs thick with the smell of decay. Manchac Swamp is more than just a stretch of wild Louisiana bayou. It's a place said to be cursed, its roots tangled with voodoo magic and restless dead. According to legend, a priestess named Julia Brown lived on the edge of the swamp in the early 1900s. She was a healer, but she also carried a dark streak. She often warned her neighbors that when she died, she would take the whole town with her. On the day of her funeral in 1915, a hurricane struck, destroying entire communities around the swamp and drowning many. Since then, the waters of Manchac have been called haunted, cursed by her final promise. Boaters drifting into the swamp at night report hearing a woman's song rising from the mist, soft and eerie, echoing off the water. Some have seen a shadowy figure swaying just beyond the trees, her voice carrying words they can't quite understand. Others say the swamp itself seems alive, branches reaching, waters rippling as though something beneath is stirring, watching. Step too far into Manchac, and you may feel the tug of the current pulling you toward the depths, where secrets and bodies alike have been swallowed whole. The swamp doesn't forgive, it remembers. And Julia Brown's curse lingers with every whisper of wind that snakes through the reeds. 6. The old state capital, Baton Rouge. From a distance, the old state capitol looks less like a government building and more like a medieval castle, its towers jutting against the Louisiana sky. Built in the mid-1800s, this Gothic revival structure has seen fire, war, and political betrayal. But what it hasn't seen is peace. Inside, the air feels oddly heavy, as though history itself presses down on you. The building burned during the Civil War, rebuilt, and endured decades of conflict. Some say its foundation is steeped in bloodshed, and the restless spirits trapped here refuse to be silenced. Staff have reported hearing phantom footsteps echoing down the grand staircase, and doors slam shut without warning, as though unseen hands are desperate to keep intruders out. The most famous apparition is Sarah Morgan, a diarist who wrote about the fall of Baton Rouge during the war. Her presence is often felt as a soft whisper in the rotunda, or as the faint rustle of skirts brushing past in empty corridors. Others speak of a shadowy figure staring from the stained glass dome, watching every visitor who dares linger. Even skeptics admit the building feels alive. The chandeliers sway when the air is still, and some say the castle-like walls seem to hum, almost as if the voices of the past are vibrating through the stone. Would you climb those stairs after dark, knowing you might not be climbing alone? 7. Oak Alley Plantation, Vacherie. The approach to Oak Alley is breathtaking, a tunnel of giant oak trees, their branches weaving into a canopy like the ribs of some ancient beast. The plantation house itself, built in 1837, sits quietly at the end of this natural cathedral. Yet beneath the beauty of Oak Alley is a history carved from suffering, and whispers say the spirits of the enslaved still linger in the shadows of the grounds. Visitors have reported strange occurrences in the main house. Candles relighting themselves, rocking chairs moving without a hand to push them, and sudden drops in temperature so sharp they make your breath fog in the Louisiana heat. Some hear footsteps pacing the upstairs hallways, and others catch fleeting glimpses of figures dressed in 19th century clothing staring from the balcony before dissolving into nothing. But the most chilling accounts come from the grounds themselves. Guides speak of disembodied voices rising from the fields at dusk, low and mournful, like a song carried on the wind. Tourists walking the oak-lined path have felt tugged by invisible hands, as if the trees themselves remember those who once worked and died under their shade. Oak Alley is beautiful. Yes, but it's the kind of beauty that feels dangerous, like a mask hiding scars. Walk the path at night, and you may wonder if the sound you hear is just the wind in the branches, or something older, waiting to be acknowledged. 8. St. Louis Cemetery, Sermonzo, or New Orleans. The gates of St. Louis Cemetery No. One open into a labyrinth of crumbling tombs and crooked pathways. Built in 1789, it's the oldest cemetery in New Orleans, a place where the dead are stacked in above-ground vaults to keep them from being swallowed by the swamp. But the walls don't just hold the dead, they echo with something far older, far darker. Among the graves lies the resting place of Marie Laveau, the legendary Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. Even in death, she is said to hold power over those who dare to invoke her name. Visitors leave offerings at her tomb: candles, beads, coins, hoping for luck or blessings. But some take it further. They mark 3 X's on the stone, whisper a request, and promise an offering if their wish comes true. Many claim it works. Others say it only invites her restless spirit closer. Those who wander too far into the cemetery at night speak of hearing footsteps behind them, though no one is there. A woman's voice hums a soft chant in the wind, and sometimes a figure in a bright headscarf is seen slipping behind a tomb, only to vanish into the stone itself. The air here tastes of dust and iron, and even in the sunlight, shadows cling stubbornly to the marble. Would you dare call out her name, or would you walk faster, knowing that the Queen of Voodoo may still be listening, still deciding whether you're friend or prey? 9. LaLaurie Mansion, New Orleans. In the heart of the French Quarter, among lively jazz clubs and glowing lanterns, stands a house with a darkness that refuses to fade. The LaLaurie Mansion is beautiful from the outside, its facade elegant and refined. But behind those walls lay horrors that chilled even 19th century New Orleans. Madame Delphine LaLaurie, once a celebrated socialite, became infamous when her hidden chamber of torture was discovered after a fire in 1834. Enslaved people were found chained, broken, and mutilated in ways too disturbing to describe. The cruelty shocked even a city accustomed to blood and brutality. LaLaurie fled, but the screams never left. Residents claim the mansion is alive with the agony of the victims. Moans echo down the empty hallways, and shadowy figures drift past the windows at night. Some say they've seen a gaunt woman in 19th century attire, her eyes hollow, glaring down from the balcony as if guarding her secrets. The atmosphere is suffocating, the kind of silence that makes your heartbeat sound too loud. Even hardened paranormal investigators avoid spending long inside. The walls are steeped in suffering, and the ghosts here are not gentle, they are furious. Walking past at night, you may feel a sudden chill, a tightening in your chest, as if unseen hands are warning you, do not look inside. The LaLaurie Mansion isn't just haunted, it's cursed. Myrtles Plantation, St. Francisville. The road curls past ancient oaks, their branches heavy with moss that sways like a funeral veil. At the end of this road stands the Myrtles Plantation, one of the most infamous haunted homes in America. Built in 1796, it was meant to be a place of elegance and wealth, but beneath its polished floors lies a legacy of betrayal, poison, and restless spirits. The most chilling tale is that of Chloe, an enslaved woman said to have poisoned the family with a deadly cake. Her punishment was swift execution by hanging. Yet her presence lingers. Guests have claimed to see her spectral figure, wearing a green turban, drifting silently through the house. Mirrors reportedly capture ghostly faces that vanish when you look again, as though the dead are trying to claw their way back into the world of the living. The air inside feels thick, heavy with the weight of sorrow. Tourists whisper of cold spots and invisible hands brushing against their skin. The grand staircase creaks even when no one is there, and late at night, the sound of children's laughter echoes through the halls, children long buried under the soil. Would you dare to sleep here, knowing that the walls remember every death, every secret, every scream? The Myrtles doesn't just tell stories, it keeps them alive. Louisiana is a land of haunting contrasts. Beauty draped in sorrow, music echoing alongside silence, and spirits that walk just beneath the veil of the living. From cursed swamps to grand plantations, every corner tells a story. Every shadow whispers a name. The dead here are not gone, they are simply waiting to be acknowledged. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this chilling journey, don't forget to like, comment with your favorite haunted location, and subscribe for more weekly videos from the shadows.